How's it hanging, fellers? Let's check out some more of these TikTokers, right?
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Doesn't work out.
So you tell us we're summoning a demon with AI, and then you put it in the robots you're building?
Our robot has a real brain. It's got the real world AI, so it tells us the leader in real world AI.
Let me remember, what did that demon call itself in the Bible? Oh yeah, Legion.
But even 5,000 robots, that's the size of a Roman legion, FYI. Which is like a little scary thought, like a whole legion of robots. I'd be like, whoa. But I think we'll literally build a legion, at least one legion of robots this year, and then probably 10 legions next year. And I don't know, it's kind of a cool unit, units of legion. So probably 50,000-ish next year.
And don't think for a second that he's stopping at 50,000.
I can tell you now, nobody will remember that Tesla ever made a car. They will only remember the Optimus, and that he is going to make 1 billion of those. And it is going to be the most transformative technology product ever made in the history of humanity.
If you read like the plotline for Terminator, it's actually pretty smart.
Is Skynet real? How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely, maybe
Wow.
10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years.
Man, he sucks. These people just suck, don't they? Like, why would somebody want a robot? Wouldn't that be weird?
There's somebody probably having a ball right underneath your feet right now. And I ain't even kidding. Are we all aware of the underground cities that the elites are living in? And they ain't living like no rodent either. Okay? Did y'all know you can literally get on Google and look up luxury underground bunkers for sale? People like me and you can't afford them, but they're definitely real. They say bunker. Whenever I think of bunker, I think of a tornado bunker. I think of a concrete box underneath the ground. That ain't no bunker. They ain't got no bunkers. They got underground cities. They just want you to be fooled. The United States government has spent over $21 trillion on underground cities. The purpose of these underground cities, obviously, just like the purpose of everything else, is to house and protect the elites. These cities expand all across the United States and connect to all around the world. It's nothing new either. All it takes is a quick Google search of ancient city of Derinkuyu. Paradise on Hulu is not fictional, it's a documentary. And honey, let me just tell you, the underground world is far, 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 far more advanced. Catherine Fizz, Assistant Secretary of George W. Bush, came forward on a podcast last year saying that the government has spent $21 trillion on these underground cities. All of these underground cities are connected by a transportation system powered by undisclosed internet technology that we're not allowed to know about. There's housing, there's roads, there's jails, hospitals. There are listings for sale right now for hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even $1 trillion, that quite literally have AI-powered medical suites, indoor pools, gourmet dining, go-kart tracks, and jet skis. Where are you going to ride a jet ski under the ground? What's wrong with an above-ground activity? Yeah, that's right. Y'all are poisoning everything we touch. That's what's wrong. That's why they're under the ground. It has been proven that they buried parts of the Denver airport that they messed up. Why? What you bury it for? This don't sound like your average tornado bunker to me. It sounds like they living under there. Sounds like they got something else going on that we ain't got no earthly idea about. Allegedly. The craziest part about all of these conspiracies, every single thing that I look into, it all boils down to good versus evil and the elites versus us. And it's been this way since the very beginning.
It's going to be them versus us eventually, right? I bet that, I mean, that's what they say. They got them dang tunnels and towns and everything. Like, I know they've talked about them being like, real old, but I mean, they're clearly making updates to I don't know. What do you think? I wouldn't want to be down there with them. Nope, nope, nope.
General Neil McCasland left an open book on X, and no one is reading his tweets. Think about who this man is. He didn't just work for the Air Force, he ran the Air Force Research Lab. He was the gatekeeper for Pentagon's most sensitive special access programs. Then on February 27th, he walks out his New Mexico home and just vanishes. 10 days before he disappeared, the military pulled a massive PR stunt called Operation Windlord. They used C-17s to transport micronuclear reactors across the country. The news calls it clean energy revolution, but McCasland, he posted one word: idiocracy. He was trying to tell us that while they're disclosing micronukes to the plebs, us, they are hiding the discovery that makes nuclear power look like a campfire. McCasland wrote that electricity can be for free. He explained that a lightning bolt isn't just weather. It's a nonlinear discharge of an adiabatic field that is always flowing around us. He's talking about tapping into the Earth's own magnetosphere. He's telling us that this energy crisis is manufactured lie to keep us all paying for the fuel while the government harvests the sky for free. He goes deeper. He talks about the 2DOF lattice, a forbidden state of physics where mass loses its grip on reality. He says if you sink an ion in an electron wave at a masoscopic interface, you don't take off with engines. You float away. No inertia, no G-forces. It's the technology he was overseeing before he was unplugged. This explains why we see a craft making 90-degree turns that should liquefy a human pilot. And here is the something dark part. McCasland is just one of the 9 top-level American scientists who have disappeared or died in the last year. Most were tied to the Air Force Research Lab. And the 3 addresses yesterday by Trump, Starmer, and Albanese talked about national resiliency and fuel fines. They want us scared and dependent on their grid. McCasland's open book is the only thing standing between us and an engineered dark age. Do your research yourself. His X account is still up.
What do you think, them missing scientists? What do you think that's about? I mean, do you think, like, I know there's a way to have free energy. You know what I mean? At least I believe there is, right? I think there's a lot of proof for that. But, like, do you think, like, this is, like, a distraction of some kind? Or, I don't know. I keep hearing about it, but at least I only really hear about it from YouTubers, right? I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. What do you think it's about?
Did the Rothschilds come to America? Officially, they really started making noise about 1837. That was our first big crash. And what about after that? When they got here, what did they start doing? Businesses, infrastructure, railroads were big for them, and they would eventually start doing business with the mortgage, JP Morgan. Okay, so like, at what point did they like grab our country by the balls? Well, that would be about 1895, 1896-ish. That's when JP Morgan and the Rothschilds bailed out the entire country of America because we're running out of gold. And so they said, hey, we have $45 million worth of gold. Want it? I imagine there was a little bit of, quid pro quo there. Daggone. And then there's 1910, the Jekyll Island meeting after the 1907 bank panic that led to the 1913 formation of the Federal Reserve. And that was all because of an island that they met at that was owned by JP Morgan and the boat that sank that was owned by JP Morgan that kept the Federal Reserve's naysayers from getting the meetings. And now we have a central bank that's controlled by Rothschild Rockefeller money. Jeez. And then that's not to mention the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812. They pressured America heavy to finance it. Even the Civil War, they were on both sides in the Napoleonic War. And guess what? The first thing our central bank funded after it was founded in 1913. 1913. That would be, did they fund? Oh God. 6 months later, World War I. Well, that's all bad, but at least it stopped. Shortly after that, Britain would write them a letter saying, hey, that land in the Middle East that you want, we're going to give it to you, Mr. Rothschild. Israel, it's all yours. Oh. The reason you can't afford an engagement ring or a wedding band, it's because of the Rothschilds and the De Beers Diamond Company. In the mid-80s, they created an M&A company. An M&A company is a merger and acquisition company. Think private equity, but before private equity. And guess what they did with we might need to slow down, but what did they do with it? They were using it to get involved in Wall Street. They wanted to infiltrate the New York Wall Street monster that had been forming in America. You want to know what they did to do that? What did they do? They did it by sending somebody to New York City to oversee the purchase of Macmillan Inc. Macmillan Inc. was a media company that would be McGraw-Hill, which is responsible for a lot of the elementary school books that you and I were raised on. Do you want to know who they sent to New York City in 1988 to do this? Robert Maxwell. He was in partnership with Robert Maxwell. And when Robert Maxwell would go on to die on his yacht because he owed the Mossad money, guess who he also owed about 50 million pounds to? The Rothschild family through the Bank of England. Wait, that's Ghislaine Maxwell's father? Is connected to the Rothschild? That's right. Robert Maxwell, along with Roy Cohn, had been running a corporate blackmail ring throughout the entire world run by the Mossad. And when he died, Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein took on the reins. That's why they had been introduced only 6 months prior to his death. After that, they would go on to infiltrate people like the princes, the politicians, and the media moguls that we know today. And we know through Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's lawyer through 2008 and 2009, admitted that he was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein in the early 90s by a Rothschild.
I was introduced to him by the Lady and Lord Rothschild.
Wow.
But, okay, well, we don't have proof that Epstein worked for Rothschild. Here's an email from Epstein over to Peter Thiel. Says, as you know, I represent the Rothschild family. But maybe only, represented a few of them. Maybe he didn't represent the whole family. Here's this wrinkly old pervert, Les Wexner, saying he represented the whole family.
And personal work for the Rothschild family in France. He represented their whole family.
What? Okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Tag Howard Lutnick. I think that's what we could do, because I believe he's a Mossad plant that's currently being seeded by the Rothschild family in a place precariously right next to Jeffrey Epstein. But all because he's his neighbor? Like, he just maybe bought the home on Zillow. He didn't. He bought the home in 1998 from the Comet Trust, which was run by the son of the World Jewish Congress founder and World Zionist Foundation organizer. Also before that, it was owned by Jeffrey Epstein himself. Well, just because he owned it doesn't mean, like, it was his house or anything like that, or ever lived there, or, like, that. Come on. Jeffrey Epstein would actually live there in 1992, starting right after things got serious with Ghislaine, so they would probably be shagging or doing whatever from 92 to 95 in that property before moving over into the other property, which will remain vacant for about 3 years before Jeffrey Epstein gets to pick his neighbor, happens to be the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, who would profit off of 9/11, survive 9/11, and also then use Cantor Fitzgerald with his sons at the helm to profit off of the very tariff being shot down in the Supreme Court that he helped form. So you basically think Howard Lutnick is like a really high-level crisis actor. Yeah, I thought of it that way. Yes, that's exactly what I think. What a liar. Lutnick the liar, that's what I call him.
And he really got into it, didn't he? There's a lot of information coming at you. It's crazy.
But in the 1990s, there was a conspiracy theorist with a public access show where he ranted about crazy crackpot theories every single day, and nobody took him seriously. But then after he died, it turned out he was right about everything. In the late 80s and throughout the 1990s, there was a man named Clay Tiffany who had a public access TV show called Dirge of the Charlatans, where he would sit for hours on end and just rant and ramble about all kinds of conspiracy theories about elite government corruption within the city. He would talk about judges laundering money through nonprofits and NYPD officers falsifying crimes to throw people in jail, and members of the NYPD acting as roving gangs and enforcers for the mob. But then something happened to Clay Tiffany. In March of 1997, he was pulled over by an NYPD officer named Nick Tartaglione, who said that he had seen Clay Tiffany's show and wanted him to stop talking about the NYPD, and that he was connected to the mob, and if he didn't shut up, he would have him taken care of. Or at least this is what Tiffany claimed the following day on his show, where he talked about the incident. And as Clay Tiffany claims, the next day after this broadcast, Nick Tartaglione showed up at his house, threw him against his police cruiser, arrested him, and brought him in on some made-up disturbing the peace charge. But Clay Tiffany was not going to be bullied, and he would not give up. So the next several years on his show, he did a full investigation of Nick Tartaglione, sending in a bunch of requests with the Freedom of Information Act to the government to get documents about him. And he dug up a ton of dirt, like multiple police brutality reports, a bunch of excessive force complaints, and unexplained departures from dozens of his previous police jobs. And in response, Clay Tiffany claims that he was attacked and brutalized by Nick Tartaglione and his cop buddies multiple times throughout those years. The first incident, he was attacked outside of his home again. The second incident, he was thrown to the pavement and beaten outside of a town meeting. And the third incident, he was beaten so badly that he was hospitalized for weeks. Tiffany ended up suing Nick Tartaglione. He didn't win, but there was an undisclosed sum settled out of court. But more importantly, he had lost any credibility that he ever possibly had because of these repeat accusations of Nick Tartaglione, and people started actively basically calling for his public access show to end. So in the early 2000s, that's exactly what happened. The show ended and Clay Tiffany disappeared from public life. And in 2015, he died from heart failure. But in 2016, Nick Tartaglione was arrested for the execution-style murder of 4 men in a drug trafficking job gone wrong. Clay Tiffany was right. Nick Tartaglione was mob connected, he was corrupt, and him and his buddies were running as enforcers for the mob within the NYPD. And what's even crazier is that Nick Tartaglione was at one point Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate and the last person to ever see him alive that we know of. And real quick, if you like my videos and you want to see more in-depth writing from me about pop culture, movies, TV, video games, weird historical facts, so on and so forth, you can do that here.
I know I've seen this one before, but it's crazy. People just don't want to believe conspiracy theorists, you know? They don't want to believe some of this stuff can be real, right? That there's so many wicked people out there, right? And just sucks. I don't know what to do about it. People just don't want to hear it. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe they are NPCs. I don't know. I think some people are. I don't know exactly what all that means. Maybe they're clones. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey guys. Yeah.
Also, sorry. This guy, I know him and his wife had found like children's shoes and like bones or something like that out in the desert, and I think this is a follow-up. I'm not sure.
It's us. Hi. Maybe we were on to something, you think? The FBI has flagged my number as a false reporting number. When we found that stuff in the desert, we got buzzed by the airplane. After we were slandered by Beauty Mark and called drug dealers on the run and all that stuff, our TikTok page has just completely been suppressed. We had one video get through with some good views that was 16 seconds long a month or so ago, but I mean, consistently, no matter what we upload, we get about 400 views in the first 48 hours. It'll trickle up to about 1,000 or so, and then it'll plateau. So yeah, we're just still here fighting the suppression, letting you guys know that we're okay. No one has reached back out to us. The sheriff's department told us that what we found were non-human bones, even though the first bones we found literally a year ago. It was October 31st. It was Halloween Day. You can check out our YouTube page. We have the whole video, the sheriff there, everything. The sheriff's department originally was very interested in what we found. We had a deputy sheriff out there. He collected the bones. He talked to the medical examiner. They were all pretty sure they were like a deceased child. You know, if you look at the video, we found shoes. We found personal belongings. We found pesos. I actually have like this right here. I keep it. These are the 2 pesos that we found next to what we think was the child. There was a yoga mat. There was a backpack that was sliced through. You don't find a severed bone below the knee in a backpack that has been sliced through and it not be what we thought it was. Like, I'm high functioning autistic. My pattern recognition is pretty good. Every hair was standing up on my body. Like, we found something for sure out in the desert, and it kind of ruined our lives, you guys. Like, we had to walk away from our dreams. We lost that property. We had to sell our trailer. TikTok has suppressed us every time that we've asked for help or anything. So, yeah, we're here surviving. Thank God we've got a place we can stay. One of our followers gave us a place we can stay and kind of manage, but we're just trying to fight for our lives on the internet every day. And if you guys do care and want to support us at all, I'm not going to ask you guys to financially support us right now. We are struggling, but everyone is struggling right now, and it just doesn't seem right. Head over to our YouTube. We have spooky content. I'm starting to do more spooky news stuff. I'm starting up another news page called With the Facts, WTF, just talking about like, new news shit that's coming out. But we appreciate the support so much. Appreciate you guys believing us. Appreciate you guys like remembering we exist and keeping us in the mix. Victoria and I have been just like doing everything we can to make it. I mean that. And it's just like, if we weren't so like okay with just being like the two of us and knowing things are going to get better, we just are the type of people, we believe things are going to get better. You know what I mean? And I've just been quietly telling Victoria, one of these days, people are going to remember that we exist and we'll be able to get back in the mix. And hopefully that's happening. If not, you know, it is what it is. But it always seems under pretty crazy circumstances that our name's getting brought back up. But I'd rather, you know, still be in the mix than not. But yeah, whatever's going on in the Las Vegas desert, it really, really does not feel like it's something great. You know what I mean? I worked for a cremation company in the Bay Area right out of high school, and they had the contract for cremating the transients and the homeless that would pass away in Alameda County. And they were legally obligated to hold on to the cremated remains for 90 days. And then after that, they could just dispose of them. And the way that they did it was a burial at sea on a boat with a priest and a pastor and a rabbi, you know, like giving the final rites and stuff. I mean, this could have been somebody that was doing that and just dumped it out in the middle of nowhere and was just kind of like, hey, let's get rid of all these. That it just doesn't seem like that. You know what I mean? This doesn't seem like that. This seems like it definitely could be something connected to a 3-letter agency that's very cold, if that makes sense. We've just seen too much shit like tied to weird, nefarious, secretive stuff, and there's so many homeless in Las Vegas that you don't even see because they have the tunnel system, you guys. They're like living down in the tunnels of Las Vegas. And it's like there's no way to keep track of these people. And once people get in the system, they can just be gone if they don't have family or friends or anything. So yeah, I don't know. We're going to keep an eye on this shit for sure. I'm just hoping and praying it was a cremation company that did something really fucking stupid. But otherwise, yeah, seeing the shit like we saw, we're not the only ones that have found stuff like that in the area, by the way. It's just people are afraid to speak out. Like it kind of ruined our lives in a little bit of a way. Yeah, we have a big following, but we don't make any money and we lost our property over it. You know what I mean? So it's just, yeah, I don't think people are really going to be too apt to speak out when they find weird shit out in the middle of the desert anymore. But I'm so thankful for you guys keeping us in the conversation. And yeah, follow us if you want, you know, more cool shit, I guess. We're making spooky content on TikTok because I can't uncover a freaking dump site every week for content, and we're not off grid anymore. So I'm making spooky content, trying to get to the point to where we can make enough of an income where we can start kind of hitting the road and do more on-site stuff where we're uncovering strange mysteries and crazy facts and historical dark shit. So if you're into that, it would be cool to help us out. Head over to YouTube, subscribe, and check out our spooky content. And yeah, holy shit, what a weird world, right?
I think I'll hunt down a bunch of clips, like the ghost clips, you know, stuff like that. Make a video out of them. I don't know. What do you think? This guy, he reminds me of somebody. I can't think of who. But that sucks for him. I mean, that sucks.
To anyone who's deep in the rabbit hole, bro, buckle up, bro, because this shit is absolutely insane. So, I took some notes here, so I remember what to say. So, in 1893, this guy named Ingersoll Lockwood wrote a 3-part book series, right? The first one is called Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump. The second one is called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. And the third one is called The Last President. All right? In the first book, Little Baron Trump lives in Trump Castle in Germany. And he finds a manuscript by a man named Don Fum that leads to underground tunnels in Russia that have portals to other dimensions. Okay? The first 2 books are just about Baron Trump and his dog, like, exploring all these weird dimensions, right? But this is where it really gets weird, bro. In the third book, The Last President, Don Fum uses these portals to become a controversial president who lives on 5th Avenue in New York. And he basically ruins the price of gold and is super controversial and ruins everything. His vice president's name is Pence, bro. That shit is absolutely crazy, but it gets even crazier, bro. Ingersoll Lockwood lived on the exact same street as Nikola Tesla when he wrote this book series. At the very same time that he was living on this street with Nikola Tesla was claiming that he invented time travel. Like, he deadass was saying, I'm about to make freaking time traveling portals and we're about to do it. And a little bit after, he mysteriously dies in a hotel. And all of his blueprints, all of his inventions are in this hotel when he dies. Guess who gets sent, along with the CIA, to pick up his blueprints? John G. Trump. Trump's literal blood uncle, bruh. Think about it, bro. It gets even deeper, though. Werner von Braun, Nazi scientist, by the way, founder of NASA, wrote a book called Project Mars in 1953 about a man named Elon who takes everyone to Mars. The founder of NASA. And now Trump and Tesla are working together. They got space and time. Think about it, Fifth Avenue right by Times Square. I'm telling you, dog, this shit is a simulation, bro.
I don't know if that's like would be time travel. I mean, that could be some kind of predictive programming or whatever too. Or I don't know. What do you think? I know I've seen something where Trump, they call him Baron also, or some people call him Baron or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments.
We'll argue this shit until the end of me, okay? If you haven't seen my video that I posted a while ago, my dad ended up passing away, okay? Tragic plane accident. He worked for the government. My video blew up. It's on Reddit. You can look it up. Troy Johnson plane crash. He texts us and says, yo, I'll be there at this time. He wasn't there at this time. Stop. Because obviously he crashed in the Pacific Ocean, okay? We have the video footage of the plane crash. I put that on TikTok because it looks fake and it looks staged. And I've been arguing with my family. Some people agree with me, some don't. You get the point of like, yo, he's passed away, let him rest, quit coming up with these theories. Understandable. But then there's my opinion who totally thinks he's not dead. For a while, I was like, yeah, he's passed away. Put it to rest, like, move on. And I do. I live my life every day. And I stood by this for many years. Like, don't put personal stuff on the internet, especially about dad. But then I started hearing the little pieces and I started digging. And that's what messed me up, dude, is I was like, this doesn't. And then I got hold of the footage of the plane crash and I'm like, does not add up, period. I think he's going to pull up. I think he's going to show up. My brother turns 18. He's the last kid to turn 18 in January. And I feel like there's a contract or something that when all the kids are 18, he could come back out and for some reason he had to fake his death. Or if he's not alive and he's actually gone, it was like something sketchy happened there. I see a bunch of people like posting videos like, I want answers, and then they get the answers. But like with me, like it's connected to the government, so I really don't think I'm gonna get the answers. And listen to this, my mom called someone important in the government when this happened and claimed, hey, I want answers, I want the footage, because my dad had a camera in the plane. I want that footage. Nope, it's top security. What's top security? My dad was top security and somehow he's dead. And then listen to this. There was a text he sent my little sister that said, I can post it. I can get it from her. It says, if all things go well, I will see you tonight. We didn't see him tonight. And my mom will even say his texts that day were shady. The way he talked in text messages was weird. Like, you know that like person you text and it's like, I can tell this isn't you, like who has your phone? That's the vibe, dude. Thing is about the government, they can like delete and they can not give you things. And I feel like I don't have the things that they're not giving me. I don't think I have all the information. Anyway.
What do you guys think? You think some kind of something going on, or you think it's some kind of like sad denial situation? I don't know. I'm always going to lean towards something going on. I don't know if you guys noticed, but she did have a boogie at the time. Anyways, here we go.
What's a conspiracy theory that you 1,000% believe in? I'll go.
The conspiracy behind Wayfair. So I remember when this first was going on, a lot of people were.
I'm sorry. I'm like almost positive I might have reacted to this one before, and I apologize.
All up in the air about it. Some people believed it, some people didn't believe it, and I happen to be one of those people that really didn't believe it. I thought there was no way that this huge corporation would use their website and certain items and certain coupon codes to possibly sex traffic kids. So I really never thought too much into it until one day something happened that actually changed my mind. So this happened about a year ago. So I work for a pretty well-known bank, and I remember we would always have this older lady come in, and anytime she came in, she would always do a cash deposit and immediately do a wire transfer. So one day I got a chance to help her, and I remember she did the cash deposit, which was like $13,000, all in cash, and immediately wanted to do a wire transfer. So when I started to help her, I remember the account number was written down on like a small piece of paper and the amount. So she was sending about 12,900 and like whatever cents to this account number. So I got to the part where I needed to type in who it was going to, and she told me it was going to Wayfair. And at first I really didn't think too much into it because she did have a business account, and I figured, well, maybe she's buying new furniture for her office or whatever. So after we were done, I started to go through her previous wire transactions just to see where all these other wires were going that she did prior. And they were all going to Wayfair. There was like 6 or 7 different wires that she was doing in the past like 60 days. And that's when I changed my mind. I knew that there was no way that this person that is always doing cash deposits and immediately doing a wire transfer afterwards to Wayfair, sending them thousands of dollars in 2 months, was buying furniture. There was no way. And I remember shortly after I reported the account, just for like secondary review or whatever. And next thing I know, she never comes in again. I never see her again, ever.
Yep. I mean, these people, they'll get what's coming to them. It's a matter of time, you know? Anyways, that's the last clip I got. Thank you for watching. God bless you and your families, and I'll see you later. Bye.